Thank you very much for that. Let's discuss now with Max Boot. He's the author of The Corrosion of Conservatism. Also here, Mr. Mike Shields. Gentlemen, good evening. So, Max, you wrote a column about the role of Fox News in all of this. What is the impact that network is carrying this kind of message?
It's very corrosive, Don. I mean, it's very dangerous. This is a network that reaches millions of people, and it's spreading a message of hate. It's spreading a message of conspiracy mongering. I mean, even just today, Fox had a guest on their air saying that this caravan is bringing smallpox and leprosy. Smallpox doesn't even exist anymore, okay? This is the classic kind of xenophobic slurs about how these immigrants are going to infect America, and it's just crazy. In 2018, a national news network is putting this kind of garbage on the air. It is radicalizing the right. It is turning sane conservatives into conspiracy mongers, and with a handful of people who may have already been unstable, it helps to push them over the edge into violence. This is very dangerous and very irresponsible, what Fox is doing.
Well, let me just say, because this is the first time that a caravan of people have come from Central America trying to get to the United States. It does happen periodically. In fact, it happened last spring. Right. And here's what CNN reports. There were 401 claims of asylum. Right? Most of them don't ever make it to the United States, by the way.
No, of course.
They don't. 400, the last time there were thousands of people, remember, coming. 400 claims of asylum for the caravan that made its way to the U.S. This was last spring, with 374 of those receiving credible fear referrals, which is the initial screening to ensure a claim could have merit. That's according to the Citizenship and Immigration Services data. So it's very high, highly overplayed, hyperbolic, and it's just not true. Yeah. So, Mike, you just heard Brian. 6 days before the synagogue massacre, the shooter wrote that he noticed people calling immigrants invaders, and he liked it. That exact language comes from Fox News. How can people say there's no connection?
I think it's outrageous at a time like this when people are grieving after a tragedy. I know we're all searching for meaning in these things, and we don't want to have a conversation about mental health because that's just too hard. So we're going to try and find a political meaning for it, and so we're going to start assigning blame everywhere. And I just think it's, frankly, kind of disgusting to do that. I think if someone is going to an anti-Semitic person is going to walk into a synagogue and murder people, that is a horrible, horrible tragedy. And maybe we ought to wait a little while and investigate it and take a look at it before we start blaming television networks, political leaders. And in the town that I live in, someone at the height of the Obamacare debate, when Democrats were coming on TV and saying that if Obamacare gets repealed, Republicans are basically going to kill you. You're going to die if we don't have Obamacare. And he went to a baseball field and shot people. That guy was crazy. He was mentally disturbed. That was not because of political rhetoric.
You know, there is nothing comparable here, Mike, because when you're talking
it's absolutely comparable, Max. The profile of that guy is very similar to the pipe bomb guy.
No, please let me get a word in edgewise here, which is that
after you interrupted me, I'll let you get a word in edgewise. Go ahead.
Which is that Bernie Sanders does not encourage violence. He was not telling his supporters to go body slam.
I didn't mention Bernie Sanders. Well, I was talking about the rhetoric. We're talking about the political climate and the rhetoric of the time. The rhetoric of the time was...
The guy who shot up the baseball game was a supporter, somebody who was pro-Bernie Sanders, and a lot of people like you are blaming Bernie Sanders for that, which is false.
Max, I never blamed Bernie Sanders. Those words didn't come out of my mouth.
What you're suggesting is that there is equivalence between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, which is not the case because Bernie Sanders.
I never said any of those things. Max, I don't know what you're talking about right now, to be honest with you.
Bernie Sanders does not encourage violence. He doesn't tell his supporters to go out and body slam anybody, and he doesn't engage in this kind of dehumanizing rhetoric, and he doesn't engage in this kind of crazy conspiracy mongering in the way that Donald Trump and Fox News do.
Mike, can I ask you a question? So if you're not equivocating, if you're not saying that they're equal and comparing them, then why are you bringing that up?
I'm trying to bring it up because so that people on both sides can understand. Okay, we'll go back to 1995. Bill Clinton, who was a great orator, a consoler in chief.
You didn't answer the question. Can we not? Bill Clinton is not the president anymore.
I'm trying to answer your question.
Bernie Sanders is not the president.
I'm trying to answer your question. You asked me why I didn't equivocate, and I'm answering.
And let me finish, and I will let you answer the question. So to bring that up, right? You're saying, oh, it's but I'm not saying that Bernie did this and not saying that. Why do you keep bringing up a comparison between someone else They're not the president of the United States. And no one is blaming the president for shooting anybody, but saying that his rhetoric contributes to a climate where people may think it's okay, or that does heat people up. He, in fact, in an interview says, well, he realizes that he riles up people and their worst fears. He wasn't sure if it was good or bad, but he knows how he does it, and that he knows that he does that. So why do you keep bringing up other people instead of talking about the person who is the president of the United States, the rhetoric that is being spouted by one network, and the conservative media? Why not just take ownership of that and talk about how you can correct it on that side instead of this whataboutism?
That's what I'm trying to do. Whataboutism is just another term for hypocrisy, and that's my point. For both sides to understand this, they both have to realize that they contribute to it, okay?
It's not equal, Mike. There is not equal contribution. There is nobody on the Democratic side
like that, what that tells me is I must be saying something that is actually resonating because you don't want to let me speak.
Who's encouraging violence in the way that Donald Trump does.
Okay, I have to get a break in, but listen, we will let you speak, but people don't want to let you speak.
I don't know if you're going to let me speak.
It's not because they don't want to hear what you have to say. It's because you're not being honest with it. It's not. This is not equal, and I understand the whole argument about both sides. This is not equal. The right-wing group killed the woman in Charlottesville. This guy is a right-winger who killed the people in the synagogue. The right-wingers sent bombs to CNN and to Democrats. I don't see Democrats killing people because of political. Yeah, there may be Democratic options who are out there saying, okay, but fine, they tried to, and that's not right. But for the most part, what do you see here, Mike? You see these extreme right-wingers, and then instead of denouncing them and saying it's just wrong,
it is wrong.
You make people think that it's okay, that you're making an excuse for us, because then you go, oh, well, what about the Democrats? When there is no comparison, there's no equivalency.
I actually had a larger point. I just wasn't allowed to finish making it. I wasn't saying it was okay.
Well, but go on. Okay, let's do it after the break.